Hello. I'm continuing the video about how we grew up in church, and I was talking about the TV, but the television was considered the one-eyed devil. Ignorance. Very much ignorance. We couldn't play ball. We couldn't touch a ball. I remember we'd go on the hill and play. I remember it like it was yesterday. I was a little girl, and Tom was sitting on a bench, and kids was picking at him and rolling the ball to his foot to try to make him touch it. And I remember Tom saying, "I ain't gonna touch that ball. No, I ain't gonna touch it. He was a firm believer. He was a firm believer in what he believed in. And he was a little boy. And they kept trying to roll the ball, let him just to test him. And he was like, "I'm not gonna touch that ball." And that was just fear. That was just fear. That was just fear. And I remember my oldest brother. I remember when he was a little boy. He was very different from Tom. He had a piece of aluminum foil. He balled it up like a ball. And he threw it up. Just throwing it up to play with it. And Mama seen it. He got a spanking for that. That's how sad this story is, and that's how controlling and sad that this story is. You get whooped for trying to touch a ball and snapping your fingers and all that stuff. But see, the church where I grew up, they were so busy trying to clean the physical part of people, but they didn't attack the issues like sex, dating, being gay. They didn't attack those issues. They were so busy trying to clean up the physical appearance, and they was killing the spiritual man in people, and it killed our spirits. My mom, it just killed our spirits. Really did. So, we went through all those things. There were days my mom was giving so much money to the church, giving all child support money to the church. And we went to school sometimes. I remember that Mama didn't have enough money, that she got all, myself, Tom, my other brother, clothes for school, and my older sister didn't get any. And I remember seeing her just cry because she didn't get any clothes. I mean, we had some hard times. Food, I'm just going to be real. I don't know what was going through my mother's head. I don't know. But why would you stack up on grits? Why would you stack up on just chicken? And when all the food is ran out, that's all you eat. It took me a long time to start I don't really like grits. For real. I'll eat them, but it ain't something I will eat. Because I ate so much grits until it was ridiculous. I remember my oldest brother and I, we was eating grits with sugar, hot sauce. I mean, that's just how hard we had it. Every day. Didn't have a healthy meal. Sometimes chicken, just every day. Until food stamps or whatever rolled around so we could have some more food. I don't understand that. I don't think I would ever understand that. I don't. It was just, we were so isolated in the apartment that we stayed in. Anytime somebody knock on the door, we would be so happy to see a face. Anytime the phone ring, everybody came out of their rooms, curious to know who was calling, because we was isolated. I'm just being real. We was just that isolated in the house. And now that I'm looking back at this, that something was wrong with that. And that's why I know that my mom struggled with a mental illness. And then, you know, she got tied up in religion. It really made things worse. So I seen my mom go through stages. I remember her when I was a little girl. She was like me. She was a person like me. She talked. She talked. She was normal. But religion, on how she was caught up in religion, it did something to her. It did something to her. But I seen her go through stages. And now, as of today, and let me continue to make this clear, I love my mama so much. There's no shame in who she is. You can judge her. To the people that know my mom and is viewing this, I'm telling you, you can judge her. You can talk about her. You can call her crazy. I don't care. That's my mama. And I love my mama so much. She got a good heart. She's just struggling with some things. I love my mom. So, anyway, but I seen her go through some stages. And mom isolated us from the mama side of the family. We didn't go over there. It's something happened between her and her mother. I'm still trying to figure out to this day. And I probably would never know. I don't know. But she isolated us from all of them. We didn't really go and be with them. We was with the Mitchells. We was with, which my father's side of the family is McKinnon's, but I know the Mitchells, they are like my family because that's who I grew up with. Instead of going to be with mama's side of the family, she went with the Mitchells. That's where she felt comfortable. That's where she trusted us to be with. We was with the Mitchells, and we was with the preacher's family a lot. Those who we didn't fellowship with grandmama and all those, my folks on my mama's side of the family. It was at one point, because as I look back at pictures, it was at one point, but I didn't see, as I got older, I saw that cut off. And when my mom was in her right mind at the time, she would talk about the things she went through. I remember it like it was yesterday. She told us some of the things she went through as a child. And all kinds of stuff. And it was it was so much. I heard so much about her mother and what she went through with her mother. And instead of letting us be children, and that's where she went wrong. Instead of us being children, we had to hear all her pain. And instead of her going to an adult and talking to an adult about what she went through, she told us. We were her friends. We was her friends. And there were some good times. I remember some good times. I remember as a little girl running to my mom. My mom gave me hugs. I remember some of those things, but the bad really outweighs the good. I'm gonna be honest. We laughed, we talked, but the bad is there. So that was our life as children, and sex was not talked about in our home. We didn't have those topics about sex. We didn't have those topics about what molestation and all that stuff was. We didn't talk about it. Those issues was not talked about. So my mom started going through stages. I saw little signs. She had so much confidence in the preacher. Too much confidence. Too much. Just, we would all pack up and go stay at his house with his wife there. That's too close. That's too close. He let her borrow cars and all that stuff. It's too close. But I remember Mama coming home from church one day, and she sat around the table. She looked it so bad. And she sat around the table, and she told us, she said, he's not right. And she said, he ain't right. She said, I went up to him to hug him, and he kissed me the wrong way. And she told all of us that we were children. And you know that all of us as children, all five of us cried together. I remember it. We all cried. We all cried together. All of us. I remember. I was a little bitty thing, probably 5, 6, 7 years old. But when she told us that, we all cried. We all cried. But do you see the attachment that we had to this preacher? Because we were just doing what we knew, what we thought was right. We were just doing what we thought was right. And then after that, Mama went through some stages. She started getting paranoid. She started to tell us, they marking me. And all that stuff. Where if someone wore a certain color and she saw it, she became paranoid. She began to say, oh, they marking me. And I'm like, we didn't know. And I remember telling her, well, Mama, wear orange. He said, Mama, just if you wear orange, nobody don't wear orange. I remember him saying that. And she just started going through them stages. She began to get mean. There was physical abuse towards my oldest sister. It was like she was the person that kept the house clean. She had to do this, she had to do that. My oldest brother he was singled out because he was emotional. Me and Tom didn't really catch a lot of flack from Mama. We was the babies, I guess. We didn't really catch a lot of being singled out like the older sister and brother was. But we didn't. I don't really remember as a baby, as a little girl, us being singled out. So, it's just a lot that went on. A lot of abuse. I remember one time we went over to Aunt's house, and Mama walked over there and saw us sitting in there watching TV. She took us back home. Every single last one of us got a whooping. I didn't get a whooping because I was already crying. I seen all how they got whooped. And Mama she had a switch and she attempted to whoop me. She didn't whoop me because I was already crying. I was like, I ain't like seeing what they was going through. And so the stages, her mental illness just started getting worse. She was rude. She was just started going through these mood swings. And this moment, I'll never forget it. I remember, it was just getting bad in the house. And my sister, she was already to the point where she left to go stay with her grandmother, and then she'd come back and she left. So she was already getting out. She was tired. It was just too much pain. And so I'll never forget this moment. And like I said to my family members, don't take it personal that I'm going into this the deepness of the stuff. I mean, the family's already broken up, and I have tried to deal with these issues with my family as a family, but I don't have nobody to talk to. So I figured, hey, put it out there. It can help somebody else. That's what I wanted to do. But I remember I was a little girl. Before I tell this, I'm going to also tell the story of when I first was diagnosed with epilepsy. My sister was giving me a bath. It was like 8, 9 years old, something like that. And my eyes just rolled back in the back of my head, and I just started shaking. My sister didn't know what that was. And finally, my mom took me to the doctor, and they preached against doctors and didn't, all that stuff. We grew up under that too. But she finally took me, and I was diagnosed with epilepsy. And out of fear, I loved school. I loved to go to school. I loved school. As a little girl, I loved learning stuff. And I remember me getting up in the morning, getting ready for school, because I was so excited. I was like, I get to go to school. And when I got up and I'm dressed to go, and I went to Mama, and I'm like, Mama, where everybody at? Well, Al, Tom, and where's my brothers and sisters? And she said, you can't go. And I cried. Oh, I cried. I was a little girl. I cried. She snuck them out the back door so them to get on the bus so I wouldn't go, because she was scared. She didn't know how to deal with my sickness. She didn't know how. So for so many years I was so angry for how she hindered me, but she just didn't know how to deal with my sickness. So I missed a lot of days in school. I couldn't go. One of my teachers, my 3rd grade teacher, I love her so much because she was so concerned about me and why Mom wouldn't let me go to school. And but a lot of times I stayed at home. Therefore, I failed classes. I could have still went to school and had a normal life with epilepsy. So the normalness was taken from me because Mama didn't know how to handle it. Her fear hindered my life because she didn't deal with it properly. So it just set me back in school. And so as they was going through school and stuff, now this is the moment that I would never forget. Mama woke up one morning After all the commotion, it was getting hard. It was getting rough. And after all the commotion and all the things that was going on with Mama and me having seizures, I remember Mama waking up one morning and she went in the room to check to see how her children were doing while they were asleep. And she only saw one child there, and it was me. And they were gone. The windows was up. They were gone. They were gone. The windows was up, and they were gone from the house. And that moment on, Mama went down. I witnessed it. She would get up in a corner and just cry. She would get up in a corner and just cry. About, her 3 children were gone. And I remember as a little girl walking up to her, crying with her. And I caught, even though I stayed with my mom till I was 12, and I caught hell behind that hurt. I suffered because I was left there. I suffered tremendously. Mother grieved her children so bad, she really went down. She neglected taking care of me. She didn't want to go get no medication. Everybody kept telling her, you have to give this child medication because she need medication. I don't want to go get it. She just went down. I don't want to go get it. I don't want to go. And it's like I was neglected. And it's like when they came back home to visit, to just see how she was doing, I remember a moment when they would come back to visit, and I remember Mama saying, you could have told me, that y'all, how y'all left was just wrong. You could have told me. And they didn't say nothing. I was like, okay. But that was hard. And it's like when Mama saw them, her world came back together. And there I was as the baby. As I noticed at my childhood pictures, I wasn't smiling a lot. If you go on Facebook and if you look at my childhood pictures when I was a little girl, I didn't smile a lot. I was just looking. So I didn't talk at that point because that's how we was raised. So every time they come back home, it's like a jealousy came in me because